They're schemers. Schemers trying to control their little worlds. I'm not a schemer. I try to show the schemers how pathetic their attempts to control things really are. When I say that you and your girlfriend was nothing personal, you know that I'm telling the truth.
Hello everyone, A Bandit here, and today we're discussing more ingenious moves from the Australian Survivor franchise. Leave a like if you enjoy, and let's hop into it. At number 1, we begin with Champions vs Contenders 2, and one of the craziest tribal councils that Sean somehow managed to survive. During the season, the infamous David Jeanette bluffed Sean with a fake idol. These idols could only be used on each other's tribes, so Sean gave his useless idol to David so that it could be useful, and David gave Sean his useless idol so that it could remain useless. Despite being on the same swap tribes, after realizing he was duped, Sean desperately wanted David gone. After a non-elimination episode, the Champions 2.0 tribe had to pick someone from the Contenders tribe to join them. And guess who they picked? So Sean joins the new Champions tribe and wants to take out David, but unfortunately David has an idol. So you may say, that's fine, he should go after Luke. Well, no, because Luke also has a hidden immunity idol. All of this was unknown to Sean, of course, but he should have been screwed coming into this tribal. To somehow make matters even worse, Andy existed, I think that's the best way to put it, and he wanted Daisy out. As David and then Luke play their idols, we as the viewer expect Sean to get idled out.
That would be my cue. I'm a bit loath to give that up, mate.
You playing this for?
Myself.
And you didn't think that you're gonna get the king of the jungle out that quick, did you?
That's crazy.
Hectic. I'd also like to play this
For?
for myself.
Yourself.
But what occurs is David blocks 3 votes, Sean receives 2 votes from David and Luke, Daisy receives 1 vote, but Hannah receives 2 votes. Overall, this is a 3-2-2-1 vote, and Hannah is eliminated 4-2 on the revote over Sean. Essentially, Sean caused a last-minute vote split to outplay 2 minority idols while placing the votes on Hannah, someone at the bottom of the majority. The intended plan was 3 on Hannah and 3 on David, but Andy, as previously mentioned, flipped his vote. This utter geniusness from Sean to save himself despite having to compete against 2 people with idols that want him out, as well as Andy who went completely rogue, is extremely impressive. I do want to mention Hannah was sick this episode, making her more appealing as a split option for the majority, but still very few people would have actually made this play. We see various individuals like Philip and Caramoan who unfortunately got idled out, but had he and a few others split votes on a member of their alliance, then the power structure would have largely stayed the same coming into the next round. We also see this in Winners at War, where Tony chooses to listen to Sarah and places all the votes on Natalie rather than splitting the votes by putting 2 votes on his ally Denise. Because of this, when Natalie idles, both Tony and Ben are forced to burn their idols in an attempt to negate Natalie and Michelle's votes.
Yeah, Josh.
Of course she does. I told you guys.
If they went with their original split on Denise, then Tony and Ben would have been able to keep their idols and use them at the final 5. If only they watched this video and subscribed to the channel, eh? And number 2, as per usual, we're going back to Australian Survivor's Blood vs Water season. For the first time in the series, I'm actually going to be covering 2 ingenious moves that happened at the one tribal. This, of course, was the final 9 tribal. No, not that one. This one, after being eliminated from the game, Jordie, Shay, and KJ returned from Purgatory in a comeback challenge. An auction was also held this episode where KJ got an advantage that she could pick 3 people and send them back to camp. This made them safe, however they couldn't vote. Initially, like most people, I thought KJ was going to just save herself, Shay, and Jordie, the minority 3, although KJ chooses something entirely different.
My girl Chrissy. The second person I'll be sending back is Mark. And I know Josh said he wanted to sit back and watch what unfolds tonight, but Josh will be heading back as well.
Okay, Chrissy, Mark, Josh, you can stand up, grab your torch, head back to camp.
That's right. Instead of playing defense with the advantage, KJ instead uses it offensively by removing Josh, Chrissy, and Mark from Tribal, thus meaning they can't vote. This leaves it 3 versus 3 on the surface, however David knew he was on the bottom of the majority, and this was later reaffirmed by KJ.
If I had sent us 3 home, I don't think Juicy may have been sitting here.
This amazing play by KJ essentially guarantees the majority will crumble, as the 3 misfits were always going to rocks for one another because, in the words of Jordie, they now have nothing to lose. This means David has to go to rocks for 2 people who would have voted him out had the core 6 remained. Again, low reward for high risk. Inevitably, the minority 3 flip David, causing Jordan, a member of the majority, to be eliminated 4-2. Then, in the following episode of Blood vs. Water, Jordie is able to effectively flip over Two-Face, Josh, and this causes the 5-3 elimination of Sam, his biggest adversary. All because of this one amazing move caused by KJ. That being said, I also really love Sam and Mark of this Final 9 Tribal, who, despite leaving both their idols back at camp, managed to bluff some wrapped up cloth as a hidden immunity idol. Say what you will about Sam.
What people might not realise is I did a double degree in performing arts and law. Not only do I know how to argue a point across very strongly, I also know how to bring out some acting 101.
But she plays off this fake idol very well, making pretty much everyone at the tribal think that Mark legitimately gave Sam his idol. As already stated, Jordan was eliminated from this tribal, but had Sam not bluffed the idol as hard as she did, then it would have likely been her name written down on the parchment. This allowed Sam to make it another round in the game, and Mark ultimately ends up in the final 7 with 2 hidden immunity idols still at his disposal. Now, pretending to have an idol you don't have has been seen on numerous occasions on Survivor, and they have likewise been extremely successful. However, the likes of Rupert or Tony never had to compete with twists at these tribals that so heavily disadvantaged them by taking away half their alliance from tribal, and the fact Sam made it out of this tribal is nothing short of a miracle. But there you are, 2 ingenious moves wrapped up into one. Don't say I don't treat you all. From the most recent Australian Survivor season to the oldest of the 10-play series, we have Kat from Australian Survivor 2016. And I know what you're thinking. Really? Kat? That person who nearly got eliminated at every pre-swap tribal? The person that voted out Rowan for solely emotional reasons, which then caused almost the complete dissemination of her original tribe? Yes, that Kat. Kat's ingenious move happens during the marooning of the first season. This marooning had a risk versus reward dynamic where tribe members had to race out to a pontoon filled with supplies. A few hundred meters away was another pontoon though, and this contained a flaming cauldron. The person to make it onto that pontoon got fire for their tribe. Immediately, everyone races out and tosses the useful supplies onto their boat. After a while, the tribes begin to depart, either by sending in people to swim and the remainder row the boat. Sanapu has the immediate lead as Sam jumps in early and is a strong swimmer. Then Vavai sends Kate and Craig to catch him, but because of Sam's lead, they're unable to. Sanapu then swerve their boat around, blocking the Vavai tribe's boat in, meaning they can no longer row forward, and any other swimmers they send will have to waste their energy maneuvering around an entire boat. Then we have the Aganoa tribe, who were never in the race for fire due to tipping their boat and waterlogging it. Understanding that they'll never win fire due to the massive time disadvantage, Kat orders her tribe to row back and just gather more supplies. A pretty smart idea.
Let's get more supplies. Go back.
The red team has given up on fire. They're loading up more supplies.
Most people in this situation would still try to swim out, on the very lucky chance all 4 other prior swimmers gas themselves out too much, but the Aganoas cut their losses. I think this might be the only idea from another person this season that Des hasn't argued with, so that should show how ingenious of a move it is. While the other 2 tribes are quarrelling in the middle of the water and fighting for fire, the Aganoas go back for some extra supplies that are much needed in a game like Survivor. Sure, Sanapu wins the most important item in fire, but when it comes to the quantity of goods amassed, no one even comes close to the Aganoa tribe and their bounty. You may have thought I was finished with the first season of Australian Survivor, but for Ingenious move number 4, we're coming right back to the 2016 edition. This occurred during the Double Tribal Council that saw both Vavai and Sanapu having to vote out one of their own. So everyone votes, but it's only revealed after the votes are cast that the 2 people eliminated will only be eliminated from their tribes and not from the game, essentially only causing a tribe swap. So Nick is voted out of Vavai 5-3, and the Sanapu tribe then have their votes read. Initially, it's a 3-3 vote on Connor, and Flick with Matt, Brooke, and Flick all voting Connor. Then on the revote, Sam flips his vote to Connor, but Matt flips his vote to Flick as both attempt to evade rocks. This causes yet another 2-2, meaning if the tribe cannot reach a unanimous decision, they all have to go to rocks on who gets eliminated from their tribe. Now Sam and Matt would have probably given up Connor in this situation, but Christy was ready to go to rocks for him, making the situation messy. However, in my opinion, Connor makes an ingenious move by sacrificing himself.
I reckon a lot of conflict would probably be resolved if I just went, honestly.
You see, in a rock situation in Survivor, the 2 highest vote getters become immune, and this would be Flick and Connor while everyone draws rocks. Connor then has a 75% chance to lose one of Matt, Sam or Kylie that all at least voted with him once. Not to mention it makes these individuals even more divided while hating Connor even more. And bear in mind either one that stays in Matt or Sam already voted for him. Matt called him an idiot.
That was the dumbest tribal council I've ever seen. You just threw everyone under the bus.
And Sam flipped on him at the first sign of trouble. Both aren't good qualities and allies. By leaving his tribe, Connor gets the ability to start over on the new Vavai tribe and build intertribal relations. Are you really telling me they wouldn't have voted Connor, or at least split the vote on him the next round, had the power structure stayed intact? Now, I know Jonathan later states that voted out players can bring a player with them to their new tribe before anyone argues, but Connor wasn't operating on this knowledge, just that he'd be swapping tribes. Nonetheless, Connor picks Sam, another smart move, considering if he picked Kylie, that would give the original Vavai majority more incentive to split the vote on them. The 2 survive the vote, and despite being on a tribe that goes to 5 back-to-back tribals, Connor isn't even brought up as an option for the vote, and on many occasions becomes a swing vote. He does become the merge boot of the season, but my argument is that he never would have made it this far had he stuck with his Sinapu peers. Finally on this list, we have All-Stars. In some poetic irony, we began this video with Sean outplaying David and Luke with their 2 idols, and at number 5 we have David burning 2 idols and getting out his longtime adversary Daisy in a move for the ages. For context, David was part of the young group on his tribe with Daisy, Lockie, Phoebe, AK, Brooke and Flick, and they seemed pretty content on just picking off the minority. They began with Jericho in episode 2, and who's going to stop them when they went to tribal in episode 3? Well, that would begin with Matt being gifted an idol by Henry. This idol could only be played for the first 3 tribals, and Henry figured he'd let someone have some fun rather than let it expire. But Matt was still down 4-7 and needed to know which person from his minority contingent was being targeted. Enter David, who just came hot off playing the prior season and had a vendetta against everyone from his old season because they previously blindsided him. Although, I don't blame you if you missed it, it's not brought up that much over the season.
I'm trying to figure out how to get my revenge on Daisy. She blindsided me, but I'm here for revenge.
So Daisy's gonna go out like past needles.
To enact my plan of revenge on Daisy.
David informed Matt thereafter that the votes were on Jackie, and so that's it, right? Well, it could have been, but this is Australian Survivor. If there aren't 100 convoluted steps, then is it even a plan? See, David witnessed his ally Brooke finding an idol and didn't want her having it. It was an idol he didn't have after all. Plus, once Brooke's idol was played, it would be re-hidden, giving David an opportunity to find it. So David got Matt to spread his name around the camp, so the likes of Brooke thought David was the vote for the minority. Although not explicitly shown on the show, David enacts a split vote plan, so the overall vote should be 5-4-2. At Tribal, Matt stands and plays his idol on Jackie, causing the 5 votes against her to be nullified.
I'll play it for Jackie.
Upon Matt playing his idol for Jackie, in fear of David receiving the next highest number of votes, Brooke plays her idol on him, meaning now 2 idols were burned at this tribal. While the majority are grinning ear to ear thinking they saved David, the Daisy votes pop up and she's eliminated 4-2. I also want to get back to the split vote that was enacted. Because of this plan, David provides further incentive for Brooke to idol him after Matt idols Jackie, because then the 2 remaining votes will eliminate Moana without the need to go to a revote. It's almost humorous how David developed a fake fail-safe split vote plan that ultimately didn't help extinguish his real blindside. With 2 idols burned and Daisy eliminated from the game, David successfully aces the strategy with no resistance. Not bad for the 3rd tribal council of the season. Over 1,000 views have been amassed over the course of this series, and I just want to say thank you all. This Australian Survivor Most Ingenious Move series really wasn't supposed to go on as long as it has, but because of the incredible amount of views and likes this has, it has become the most successful series on my channel. So shout out to you all. If you enjoyed, subscribe, please, because barely any of the people that watch these videos are subscribed. But anyway, have a great day. Peace!